Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. I'm Spiritual Coach Lisa Hopp. It is Sunday, February 27th, 2022. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new, please be sure to check out my website at lisahopp.com and also follow me on Facebook under Spirit Teacher Lisa Hopp. And for those of you coming back every week, thank you. Thank you for all your positive comments and your suggestions. I appreciate you all so very much. So this week has been quite an energetic week, has it not? My goodness. How are you all holding up? Let's start with 2/2/22 and all the energies of that day. Now, if you somehow managed to get by that day and barely notice it, well, I don't know what to say about that. For some, it was a heavier energy. For some, hopefully it was a day of rapid manifestation, seeing synchronicities. For me personally, it was a duality day. A day with twos, the duels, the choices really came into play. I received clarity that day about things in my life that, well, were like ahas. And I'm very thankful about that. It came to me almost up in my face about the situations and the relationships in my life, those present and those of the past. And I became very grateful for being able to do the review and to be able to make a choice yet again about what I wanted in my life, who I want to be. Sometimes our relationships can be very painful. We can experience a lot of grief about them. For me personally, I went back to relationships and, as I said, reviewed ones I personally currently have, but also went back to the past. And I think that's very important to do because sometimes, I think too often enough we go back to the past and it causes us a lot of regret, a lot of anxiety, a lot of sadness, trauma, PTSD, many things can come up from reviewing. Though it's very important to do that because that is where the healing takes place. And I was a bit surprised by the welling up of focusing on the past and receiving clarity about the past. And how did I receive clarity? Well, I went back and I asked myself, if these relationships were to be in my life today, would I be happy? Would I be better off? What did they bring to me that was positive? That is worth having? And I can tell you, thankfully, I saw that no. They brought nothing that was good for me, healthy for me, better off. But I needed that. I needed to go back and really look at it all again. Because we are an emotional species. While we are very powerful, energetic beings, we also have very strong emotions. We fall in love and we love people. I'm very much an empath, very much an empath. So it's easy for me to be bruised. It's easy for me to be disappointed, have expectations. It's easy for me to become invested. So because of that, sometimes things pop up. I also always want to be of the greatest, highest consciousness. I always want to be the best version of me. So I'm always trying to make sure that that is happening. Was I fair? Was it right? Should I give unconditional love always in the way of actions to a person? You can give that, by the way, energetically without investing physically, emotionally, and mentally. But I always like to look at that. Am I being the best version of myself? And so all of this happened on 2/22/22. And by the end of the day, I probably was very exhausted. Yes, I'm sure I was. But I came out of it better. I want you to ask yourself if you are one like me, or if you're going through something right now where you're wondering about your relationships, if you're wondering about your job, if you're just wanting to be able to create the best, the most ideal life. Let's go with the relationships first. If you're with someone right now, how would you feel if they weren't with you 5 or 10 years from now? Would you feel freer? Or does it make you feel very sad? These are important questions to ask because they give you the answers. They give you the clarity. We all know, don't we? What if you were to say to yourself, well, and you should, what if it never changes and it's exactly as it is today in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years? Could I be happy? Am I better off? In order to stay in a relationship, yes, the answer should be yes. It should be. If it's not, then you do what you can in taking steps for yourself, first and foremost. And then when you feel it's time and you feel it's ready, then you take them outward. Because you deserve to have the utmost happiness. You deserve to feel your best. Now we can ride and flow that over to other areas. Let's look at the career job area. If I were in my profession today in 5-10 years, how does it look? What if you feel right now it's kind of capped? Would you be happy if it were like that in 5 or 10 or 20 years? How does your future look for you? What do you truly want? We often talk about retirement years. And what we truly mean is, I want freedom. I just want freedom. How does freedom look for you? Does today get you there? Or are you giving all of yourself to someone in a job area, to an employer that does not give it back? I have to say, one of the greatest joys, and I've said this before, but one of the greatest joys I have is being self-employed. Because when I was in the what I call my old life in the corporate world, when I was an employee, it was so incredibly unhealthy. It was literally abusive at times. You had to go to work every day, worried about pleasing someone, more than one person. That's not a way to be. It's not a way to live. It's not to say over the years there weren't good people that I worked with and sometimes worked for. But there were also those that brought an unhealthiness to every day. Now, I made that choice to be in that situation, though I was very young. It is what was expected to get up during a snowstorm, try your best to get to work on time, be worried about that annual raise, how you would do, were your numbers going to be good enough, even though you knew you were giving your best and working hard. And I had superiors over the years that I know enjoyed that position of power and enjoyed being abusive. Now, I'm a firm believer that what you put out, you get back. And I have come to this place that I wish no ill will. I know it's all taken care of, and I don't say that in a negative way or even in an egotistical way. How you treat others and what you put out comes right back around to you. And it's very important to always be living from a place as much as possible of higher consciousness. We all are human. We all have moments. But when you enjoy being in a position of power, that's different. When you enjoy it in a way that you're not doing it to serve in a wonderful way, but serving, as I said, in a more negative way. And yes, perhaps sometimes in an abusive way. Now, I'm a lover of self-employment, but more, I'm a lover of entrepreneurship. Having your life in your hands and that whole mentality. And you can have that mentality even if you're working for someone. Just know it's all in your hands, that you have the power to live life on your own terms. So, if you were in your situation down the road, 2, 5, 10 years from now, does this fulfillment, does this employment fulfill your soul? Or are you just going to work each day, hoping to get to your retirement age? I hear so often, though, people say that they don't know how they can retire. There is an infinite universe, an infinite supply. You do not have to have a job even to receive abundance. It comes in various forms. One of my favorite teachers, and I've gone to his classes and become certified, is Mike Dooley, who is author of Infinite Possibilities. His famous saying is, thoughts become things. And he says that actually receiving material things, and I'm paraphrasing him, But receiving in a material way is actually very spiritual, because it's just another form of abundance. And when you're open to abundance, you're in that abundant flow. And you have tapped in and tied in to how to manifest using energy. Because what you receive materially, you've been working on manifesting for quite a while. Your life today is the setup of what you've been visualizing and thinking about and desiring. And that is your life today. And the wonderful thing is, you can always enlarge it. You can always expand it. So when you're tapped in and tuned in to that energy, you're being incredibly spiritual. You are tapped into Source. You are tapped into Universe, where all abundance is. And so it's all right to have possessions. The root of all evil is not money or possessions. It's allowing yourself to be controlled by them. Allowing yourself to be in love with power. Now, I'm in love with empowerment. I love empowering myself to work on the greatest version of me and to figure out how to live my best life and to try to figure out how to help others. And I love working with women to become empowered, especially. But yes, there are some who are very much about power and money and greed. So money is not the root of all evil. It is really what you decide to do with it. It really comes back to the person that you choose to be. Now we can roll over all this clarity and all these choices over to health. And health is, there's so many dimensions to health. I feel that we walk through this earth not always being in tuned and realizing how powerful we are, how much we are in control of our own health. Every time we get angry, it affects our body. Every time we store our resentments and our rages and our beliefs, our misbeliefs at times that fuel us up, that affects our health. Every time we just don't deal with something, it affects our health. Stress. We often hear stress kills. Yes. Stress, worry, anxiety, all of these things cause harm. So then you add on top of that habits of life, and they multiply. The wonderful thing is that we have as much power to cure ourselves or heal ourselves as we allow the stress to harm us. Now, as I said before, I think we walk around not paying attention until we have to. A lot of the time. We wait for the diagnosis or for the scare. before tackling it. Our human body is our temporary vessel. It's our temporary vehicle. And it doesn't have the capacity to store our stresses and our anxieties. But with the power of our intentions and our mind and self-love, we have the power to cure anything. But that doesn't mean that it's easy or that you should feel pressure. Resistance in any form can get in the way. Clarity comes from our body. Our body will always tell us what to do. Doesn't mean we always want to do it, but our body will always tell us what to do. And maybe it's the computer of our mind, our subconscious mind, that's also telling us what to do as well. Have you ever craved a food and you don't understand why? That's your body telling you that you need it. Unless it's emotional, then it's your emotional self. But when it comes out of nowhere, it's your body telling you what it needs. Our bodies speak to us, much in the same way our intuition speaks to us. There's always a dialogue going on. So in this duality of choices that we have, we can decide to choose one path or another. But we should always do it with love. Even if you know there are changes that you have to make and you don't want to make them and you're a little slow to make them, still, be kind, be loving, forgive yourself. And take the baby steps towards those changes. Now, if you listen to my podcast every week, and I hope you will, and I hope you do, you know from me that we heal ourselves through feeling healed. You cannot heal a diagnosis by focusing on the diagnosis. You can only heal it through focusing on health, well-being, higher vibration, joy, wellness. Then your body has the opportunity to restore. That is why they say laughter is the best medicine. I feel sometimes we don't heal ourselves because we don't think that we're worthy of it, that we don't feel lovable enough or deserving enough to have that healing. It can also be that we fear about what will life be like after the healing. There's so many multifaceted things going on. That is why it's not easy. But it's been done, and it can always be done. That's why we hear of miracles and spontaneous healing. Stage 4 patients that live for decades. These moments happen because of the power of the will, the power of the mind, and the power of the emotions. and the power of thoughts. Your will be done. We often feel too, some of us, that we have to ask permission. How dare I get this? It's almost like a survivor's guilt. Those who are healed completely don't deal with that. They receive. Are you willing to receive? I hope so. Receive the ultimate relationship, the ultimate vocation, the ultimate health, the ultimate freedom. It's so important. And I'm using those words today so much, aren't I? So important. No matter who you are, no matter who you are, and no matter what you've done, you are loved by an energy that is unconditional. And you are made in the image and likeness of that energy. You have all that power in your hands. We are told we're not supposed to have that we are smaller. But that's not the truth. You are that, and you are deserving. You could light up a city right now if your intentions were focused there, and if you believed you could. Don't ever let anyone ever make you feel smaller or bring you down. You deserve to have whatever you would ask for. Brings me back to the clarity I received this week about my past and about my present relationships. The knowing of what I deserve. And never going back to anything less. And currently not having anything less. And I'm in a wonderful place. I've evolved. And I don't mind sharing that with you. I used to be someone that, well, let me just say this. I always know what's going on. I always know when something's off. I always know how people are feeling and often what they're thinking. I sometimes purposefully turn it off, but I know. And I don't say that in an egotistical way. And I used to have this issue where I would try and fix it. If something was off, I had to fix it. And I've learned I don't have to fix it. And I don't have to be perfect. I can mess up from time to time. I can let things go. And I have to say, I think it's the greatest gift I've given to myself recently. It happened naturally. I flowed right to it. It wasn't a force. It just happened one day. A shift happened. I just accept everyone for who they are. And I let them be where they are. And I let me be where I am. And then you find who really likes you, who really loves you, and who never really did. But you're grateful for the information and the clarity. And it brings you a sense of release and well-being and freedom and healing. And it doesn't mean that you don't feel emotions. It just brings a lot more calm, a lot less work. Everyone just be where they are. Think about that. See if you can shift that way. This is quite a week. And the future brings quite a ride. The near future. We are going through an extraordinary time of change. Everything that has to be healed is rising up. Everything is in a shift. Things are becoming different. Wide open. But it leads to a higher energy. It leads to oneness more, though we're all one. Leads to that feeling of it. It leads to a thinner veil between us and heaven. It leads to instant manifestation, peace. So it all has a purpose. But it can be daunting. It can be draining. It can be depressing. So it is so important to take care of yourself. Put yourself first. Keep your tank full. Stay grounded. There are many that are not grounded. Grounded. Get your bare feet out there in the earth. Center yourself. Mother Earth supports you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you all so much. Please be sure again to go to my website at lisahop.com. And also, if you're on YouTube listening to this, please like, subscribe, and share. I would appreciate it so much. I have more things up my sleeve with other offerings in the future. And I'll announce them as they come along. But for now, thank you. And I hope you have a calm, peaceful, blessed day and a week filled with miracles and moments that are irreplaceable. Thank you so much again. Many blessings.